Well, hello, everyone out there in BookTube land and beyond. Welcome or welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. I am your resident history nerd and book reviewer. How you doing? Say, haven't done a book haul in a while because normally, gosh, I get so many books sent to me for potential coverage or reviews that I work on. But I am a bibliophile and I love books, and I still have an intention to read every single one of my books, Lord willing, if I can make it that long. I just have a hunger, a passion for learning, and that's why history is my thing, nonfiction as well. But as many of you know, I do read a lot of fiction and I review fiction. But today we're going to be showing one of my recent, I was going to say booty hauls, but that sounds bad. That sounds a little weird. Book hauls from Book Outlet. I bought these a while ago, and so I had many different shipments arrive, and I decided to separate them into stacks of history and nonfiction and then fiction. So I'm going to start identifying non-history book videos with a different moniker. Let me know if you guys, what you think of that. So for fiction, I'll have a tag on the video that says, the fiction shelf. And when I want to talk about mystery novels, it's going to be called the mystery shelf in the subject line or in the video title. Even because lately I've been reading more horror, I'm even going to have a horror shelf. And I have a stack of Christian books or religion books and faith books and theology, and that'll be the theology shelf or the faith shelf. I haven't decided yet, but yeah. But for today's purposes, we're looking at books I've hauled that are history and nonfiction, memoir, stuff like that. So first of all, thanks to Book Outlet for having so many awesome sales. And I picked up a bunch of books that I've been wanting to check out. Okay. Let us begin. I hope this won't be a really super long video. My last one was about over an hour, but check it out anyway, guys. Okay, here we go. Let's start with this one. I have read this author's work. I've reviewed at least 2 of his books, and he writes fantastic adventure survival history. And this is his recent one that I didn't get a chance to review, but I want to read it, and I can't wait for it. This is Buddy Levy. And this is what his recent book, Realm of Ice and Sky. Triumph, Tragedy, and History's Greatest Arctic Rescue. I love stories about Arctic anything. Survival stories, rescues, exploration. Love, love, love that. I'm going to do that. Okay. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to put my name away. I think I got it for like $6 on Book Outlet. Hardcover. Ooh, I love the inside flaps here. Look at that. Fantastic stuff. Okay. Now I've got a lot of books and I don't want to make it an hour-long video, so I might have to condense some of these things that I read for you, but let's get in here real quick. Arctic explorer and American visionary Walter Wellman pioneered both polar and transatlantic airship aviation, making history's first attempts at each. Yet, Wellman has been cast as a self-promoting egomaniac, known mostly for his catastrophic failures. Instead, he was a courageous innovator who pushed the boundaries of polar exploration and paved the way for the ultimate conquest of the North Pole, which would be achieved not by dog sled or airplane, but by airship. Let's see here. In 1908-09, American explorers Dr. Frederick Cook and Robert Peary, in separate expeditions, both claimed they'd reached the North Pole first, but their claims were seriously questioned. There was enough doubt that Norwegian explorer extraordinaire Roald Amundsen, who'd made history and a name for himself by being the first to sail through the Northwest Passage and the first man to the South Pole, attempted to fly to the North Pole by airship. He would go in the Norge, designed by Italian aeronautical engineer Umberto Nobile. The 350-foot Norge flew over the North Pole on May 12, 1926, and Amundsen was able to accurately record and verify their exact location. However, Nobile felt slighted by Amundsen. 2 years later, Nobile returned, this time in the Italia. backed by Prime Minister Benito Mussolini. This was an Italian enterprise, and Nobile intended to win back the global accolades and reputation he believed Amundsen had stripped from him. The journey ended in disaster, death, and accusations of cannibalism, launching one of the greatest rescue operations the world had ever seen. So this book, The Realm of Ice and Sky, is the riveting tale of the men who first flew the most technologically advanced airships of their time to the top of the world, risking and even giving their lives for science, country, and polar immortality. So sign me up. I love these tales. I love this history. And Buddy Levy is a fantastic writer. The ones I've read and reviewed are Labyrinth of Ice, the triumphant and tragic Greeley Polar Expedition, and also Empire of Ice and Stone, the disastrous and heroic voyage of the Karluk. But he's written some other fantastic books. I also have his other one, River of Darkness, Francisco Orellana and the Deadly First Voyage through the Amazon. So, but there's more. He's a great writer, and I love these Arctic tales, and so love it. So I picked that up from Book Outlet. All right, I don't even know where to go next. We'll just go with the hardcovers first. Maybe that's the best organizing principle. I think this one was super marked down, so I said I'll take it. This is The Origin of Politics: How Evolution and Ideology Shape the Fate of Nations by Nicholas Wade. A little slim volume. Let's see here. Societies that ignore social disintegration and collapsing birth rates are putting their future in peril. So why are we ignoring the signs? In The Origin of Politics, Nicholas Wade explains how our political systems compete with a more ancient set of rules for organizing society, those developed by evolution. Modern ideologies are in constant tension with structures inherent in human social behavior, such as the family, the tribe, and male-dominated institutions. This tension plays out in various ways. Sometimes nature prevails over politics, as in the proposal by Marx and Engels to eliminate the family, the basic unit of society. The founders of the kibbutz movement put this radical idea into practice, only to find that the conflict with human nature was unsustainable. I'm telling you, human nature is always going to win over any type of scientific new theory. Let's create a new society, everybody. Let's organize society on new lines, not accrediting a very crucial fact that we are human beings and we have human nature. And you just can't surmount that. You just can't. Okay, but it says here, in other cases, culture has successfully modified evolutionary behaviors, replacing polygamy with monogamy and dissolving the bonds of tribalism to make way for modern states. But the evolutionary framework of human societies is not infinitely flexible. The nation state, especially in the case of the United States, is prone to disintegration if disruptive ideologies are allowed to undermine the cohesive affinities that hold its disparate cultures together. So this kind of goes on, and I've got to, so let me just jump forward a little bit. I mean, it's a slim volume, but I think he's packing a lot of big ideas in here, or I hope so, a little over 200 pages. And it concludes with, we live in an iridescent bubble, the intoxicating richness of modern culture. Shielded from the natural world, we have lost our awareness of the evolutionary forces that still guide our motivations and shape the foundations of our societies. The Origin of Politics explores the risks of underestimating evolution's fundamental role in human affairs. So that's interesting, kind of bringing in, obviously it's in the subtitle, how evolution and ideology shape the fate of nations. So I was intrigued enough to pick this up at Book Outlet. So we'll see what turns out there. Ooh, yes. I was wanting to get this for a while because I read a book for an online book club through History Through Fiction. What was the name of the book and the novels? Like The Last Message, oh God, I can't remember it now. I'm spacing on it. But it was about this woman, Dicky Chappelle, who was a trailblazing female war correspondent. And this book is, I guess, her biography or some type of, it's the untold story. So let me just show it to you. First to the front of the untold story of Dicky Chappelle, the trailblazing female war correspondent, by Larissa Reinhardt. put out by St. Martin's Press. This came out. So, you know, I read the fiction novel about her experiences. And then I'm like, I want to learn more about this woman. So looked it up, and this was one of the first books that came up. This came out in 2023. But yeah, her story is crazy. Lots of photos in the insert. Okay, in the middle of it, but let me tell you a little bit about the book. From the beginning of World War II through the early days of Vietnam, groundbreaking female photojournalist and war correspondent Dicky Chappelle chased dangerous assignments her male colleagues wouldn't touch, pioneering a radical style of reporting that focused on the humanity of the oppressed. She documented conditions across Eastern Europe in the wake of World War II. She marched down the Ho Chi Minh Trail with the South Vietnamese Army and across the Sierra Maestra Mountains with Castro. She was the first reporter accredited with the Algerian National Liberation Front and survived torture in a communist Hungarian prison. She dove out of planes, faked her own kidnapping, and endured the mockery of male associates before ultimately dying on assignment, sorry for the spoiler, in Vietnam with the Marines in 1965, the first American female journalist killed while covering combat. Chappelle overcame discrimination both on the battlefield and at home, with much of her work becoming buried from the public eye, until now. In First to the Front, Larissa Reinhardt uncovers the incredible life and unparalleled achievements of this true pioneer and the mark she would make on history. Yeah, so this is another important read. These are just, how many of you have heard of Dicky Chappelle, you know, out there? I just feel like this is the wonder and the benefit of reading history, and people who, and writers who take on these untold stories to just broaden our perspective, you know, and of like who was involved. And there were a lot of females out there trying to cover wars, and I'm so surprised. Up until that novel I read, that I had never heard of Dicky Chappelle. So I'm gonna you know, fix the problem and read this book and just, you know, just make myself more aware. I have a stray hair, and I'm sorry guys, I know it's vain. It's driving me crazy. There we go. Okay. Thank you. You know your gal Peg. One quick second, I'm gonna take a drink. I can get very parched when I'm reading from these book jackets. Oh, a coworker of mine recommended this book to me, and she said she has recommended this book umpteen times to all of her people, and she says you will not regret it. So when I saw it on Book Outlet, I was like, oh yeah, you know, Brittany told me about this. Thanks, Brittany. So I picked it up. I got in hardcover. This is How the Word is Passed: A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America by Clint Smith. Oh, it was listed as New York Times Book Review, one of the 10 best books of 2021. I don't know how I missed this, but anyway, let's see here. Beginning in his hometown of New Orleans, Clint Smith leads the reader on an unforgettable tour of monuments and landmarks, those that are honest about the past and those that are not, that offer an intergenerational story of how slavery has been central in shaping our nation's collective history and memory. Okay, I'm going to jump forward a little bit for the time's sake. A deeply researched and transporting exploration of the legacy of slavery and its imprint on centuries of American history, How the Word is Passed illustrates how some of our country's most essential stories are hidden in plain view, whether in places we might drive by on our way to work, holidays such as Juneteenth, entire neighborhoods like downtown Manhattan, where the brutal history of the trade in enslaved men, women, and children has been deeply imprinted. This was his debut work of nonfiction. Okay, informed by scholarship and brought to life by the stories of people living today, Smith's debut work of nonfiction is a landmark of reflection and insight that offers a new understanding of the hopeful role that memory and history can play in making sense of our country and how it has come to be. And I am right in that zone right now. I'm kind of vibing on history that books that tackle memory as an element of looking at past events, and looking how memory is shaped on a national level and what we teach. And so I'm just really been fascinated by that angle. So this is definitely a book that's going to fit into that that niche that I'm kind of really diving deep into right now. So, How the Word Is Passed. Let me know if you've read this book. I mean, apparently it's very well known, and I don't know how I missed it, but thanks to my colleague Brittany for telling me about it, and I got it for like $6 on Book Outlet. What can I say? And I love Book Outlet. Next to HamiltonBook.com is still my favorite bargain book place. And by the way, I do have a Hamilton book haul coming. I need to film that for you. Those books have been waiting a while for me to show you. And I'm so tempted to make another order, but I can't. I'm just got other things to pay for first. But Hamilton Book is still one of my favorites. But the second best bargain outlet that I shop at is Book Outlet. So if you want to check them out, check them out. I'm not making any money from telling you that, but I'm telling you there are some good prices there. So, okay, next book I picked up, Simon & Schuster title. Another I marked down. This came out in 2024. This is by Ruchir Sharma, and this is called What Went Wrong with Capitalism. Not too big of a book. Okay, it says here, capitalism didn't fail. It was ruined. Ruined! What went wrong with capitalism? Ruchir Sharma's account is not like any you have heard before. He says progressives are right, in part, when they mock modern capitalism as, quote, socialism for the rich, end quote. For a century, governments have expanded in just about every measurable dimension, from spending to regulation to the scale of financial rescues when the economy wobbles. The result is expensive state guarantees for everyone, bailouts for the rich, entitlements for the middle class, welfare for the poor. Taking readers back to the 19th century, Sharma shows how completely the reflexes of government have changed. From hands-off to hands-on, from offering too little relief in hard times to trying to prevent anyone suffering any economic pain ever. Trading sins of omission and indifference for excesses of spending and meddling, governments from the US to Europe to Japan have pumped so much money into their economies that financial markets can no longer invest all that capital efficiently. Inadvertently, they have fueled the rise of monopolies, zombie firms, and billionaires. They have made the system less fair and less efficient, which is slowing economic growth and fueling popular anger. There is no going back to 19th century laissez-faire capitalism, but to fix its modern flaws, governments need to restore the balance between economic freedom and state control. So, okay. So, you know what? Yeah, let's take a look. Let's take a look. I'm kind of reading more of these books just to try to understand the state of affairs today. Regarding economy, yes, but also other items. I don't know if, okay, now I'm kind of going off track a little bit, but hey, my channel. Let me be a little free flowing here. Just finished reading this book and I'm about to write a review of it. If not tonight, then first thing tomorrow morning for shelf awareness. But people have been talking about this book. It was a lead article. Let me go over to my stack of, it was a lead article in Harper's Magazine that I subscribe to. How seniors became America's ruling class. And I think I think the New Yorker covered this new book. This article was extracted or, adapted from this book. Anyway, I read this and I'm writing a review. It's called Gerontocracy in America, How the Old Are Hoarding Power and Wealth and What to Do About It by Samuel Moyne. This is coming out from Farrar, Straus and Giroux, and it's coming June 16th is the publication date. But I learned a lot from this about how our economy definitely is being kind of, some of his solutions are a little bit, woo, okay, now we're really kind of going out there. But he makes great points about elders hoarding the wealth and how I don't know how I'm still working through my thoughts on it, but he makes great points, but it reminds me that there's a lot to look at with the state of capitalism now and how it's really just benefiting the few. What are we talking about? The oligarchy or the plutocracy or whatever? The people, the ultra rich running everything, and the rest of us suffering and having to work 2 and 3 jobs. And talk to me about knowing that. I work 2 jobs. And I probably will have to for the rest of my life. So that's fun, huh? The American dream is only for a few people out there. So yeah, what went wrong with capitalism? I thought I'd check that out. Super cheap book outlet. Okay. Now we're going to move over to, this is more memoirish. Trying to get these a little bit. All right. All right. Now we're going to go to something really dark. This book came out I was able to get in hardcover again for maybe $6, $7 maybe, 2024. And we're going to be talking about Holocaust stuff. But okay, let me just show it to you. So I picked this up. Mistress of Life and Death. The Dark Journey of Maria Mandl, head overseer of the women's camp at Auschwitz-Birkenau. And the book is by Susan Eichscheid. This came out from Citadel Press, so a couple years ago. I've always wondered about these women that were overseers at these concentration camps. Just like, now, anyone could be a monster. It's not, you don't have to be a man to be a monster. We know this. It's there are women. I mean, what was her name? Oh yeah. Well, actually, this. Oh yeah. Okay. No, she was known as the. Excuse my language, but her moniker was the bitch of Birkenau. Was it not? I think so. Or was that another one? But there were some really evil Nazi women out there. Did they call her the bitch of Birkenau, or was it another one? There was a lot of bitches of Birkenau, apparently. Okay, this is a gripping, unflinching biography of SS overseer Maria Mandl, one of the most notorious and contradictory figures at the heart of the Nazi regime, and her transformation from harmless small-town girl to hardened killer. By the time of her execution at 36, Maria Mandl had achieved the highest rank possible for a woman in the Third Reich. As head overseer of the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp, she was personally responsible for the murders of thousands and for the torture and suffering of countless more. Just evil. In this riveting biography, Susan Eichscheid explores how Maria Mandl, regarded locally as a, quote, a nice girl from a good family. Aren't they all, though? End quote. Aren't they all wasn't Jeffrey Dahmer considered, he was a nice boy from a nice family. Those are the ones you got to look out for. Okay, so she explores how this woman came to embody the very worst of humanity. Born in 1912 in the scenic Austrian village of Munskirchen, Maria enjoyed a happy childhood with loving parents, who later watched in anguish as their grown daughter rose through the Nazi system. As a parent, though, I don't have kids, and I never really, wanted to. It just wasn't in the cards for me, obviously. But I know it's like a fear many parents have. Like, what if I had a bad seed, like just a bad seed child? How awful would that be to be the parent of? And because you raised them the right way, you gave them plenty of love, and they still go wrong. They still go evil. That's got to be horrible. Mandl's life mirrors the period in which she lived, turbulent, violent, and suffused with paradoxes. At Auschwitz-Birkenau, she founded the notable women's orchestra and had, quote unquote, adopted several children from the transports. Oh, for heaven. Oh, God, have mercy. Only to lead them to the gas chambers when her interest waned. After the war, Maria was arrested for crimes against humanity. Following a public trial attended by the international press, she was hanged in 1948. For 2 decades, Eichscheid has excavated the details of Mandl's life story, drawing on archival testimonies, speaking to dozens of witnesses, and spending time with Mandl's community of friends and neighbors who shared their memories, as well as those handed down in their families. The result is a chilling and complex exploration of how easily an ordinary citizen chose the path of evil in a climate of hate and fear. So, and this is a big book, about over 450 pages. But, period photos from the time. This woman growing up when she was still somewhat normal. I don't know. I don't know how people go that way. But I've always just been fascinated why people go that route. It's the psychology of it. I don't know. Also I think the spiritual, there's something she got taken over by some darkness here for sure. Anyway, got it from Book Outlet. So a lot of these books might be available. If anything here interests you and you want to just go to Book Outlet, type in the name and see if they have it, and then just see at the price. It could be worth your while. I don't know. All right. Okay. I got some good ones here. Okay. This one was an odd one. This is profile. Okay. This is from Profile Books, and it looks like this is a book that came from the UK. It's got the UK currency on the cover. This came out 2023, but it sounded interesting. This is called A Terribly Serious Adventure. Philosophy at Oxford, 1900 to 1960, by Nikhil Krishnan. Okay, so UK book. It just sounded different, and they had only one copy of it, so those go really fast. You have to look to see what quantity is available. So, and they usually say low stock. So it's like you got to order it now or it's going to be gone. So I got it. Yay. In mid-20th century Oxford, a new generation of intellectuals began to question the role of philosophy in a world shadowed by fascism and war. Thinkers such as Gilbert Ryle, J.L. Austin, Elizabeth Anscombe, and Iris Murdoch, I know that name, aspired to a new level of watchfulness and self-awareness about language. Being vigilant about their words was their way of keeping philosophy true to everyday experience and of fighting obscurity and muddle in contemporary thinking. A Terribly Serious Adventure traces the friendships and the rivalries, the shared preoccupations and the passionate disagreements of Oxford's most brilliant thinkers. Far from being stuck in a world of tweed, pipes, and public schools, the Oxford philosophers drew on their wartime lives as soldiers and spies, conscientious objectors, and prisoners of war in creating their greatest works, each an unsung masterpiece of British modernism. Nikhil Krishnan combines biography and philosophy to reveal the lives and achievements of the figures behind ordinary language philosophy, one of Britain's iconic intellectual movements. Together, they stood for a compelling moral vision of philosophy that is still with us today. So I didn't know about this language philosophy, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to learn something. And I kind of like reading about like the big thinkers during that time frame, and at these prestigious universities. So yeah, I thought I'd check this one out, and it was super cheap. Okay, now we're going to go here because, oh yes, I haven't shown you this, but I finally got around to buying this novel. I haven't read it yet, guys. Just because I'm so, I have so many assigned readings for my book reviews, but it's a novel. It's a novel I plan on reading because I've heard so many good things about it, and it was a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. So this author here, I didn't get this from Book Outlet. I ordered this a while ago, and I need to. There's a stack here that I haven't shown you yet of some fiction I bought at various places, but not at Book Outlet. So this is Viet Thanh Nguyen, The Sympathizer, right? Everyone knows this book. And I'm really excited to read it. And it won the Pulitzer Prize in fiction. Okay, anyway, so he wrote that, and I'm going to be reading that. But then I saw this book on Book Outlet, and it's his memoir. It's called A Man of Two Faces, a memoir, a history, a memorial by Viet Thanh Nguyen. This is put out by Corsair Books or something. So I think this might also be a UK book. Yes, it is. It's got the currency on there. So again, low quantity, and I was able to nab this because I love memoirs and I love reading writers' memoirs. I just dig it. So it says here, at the age of 4, Nguyen and his family are forced to leave his hometown of Ban Mi Thuot I'm sorry, I'm butchering this, I'm sure, in Vietnam, and flee to the USA as refugees. After being removed from his brother and parents and homed with a family on his own, Nguyen is later allowed to resettle into his own family in suburban San Jose, but there is violence hidden behind the sunny facade of what he calls America TM, like a trademark. As a teenager, the blood-stirring drama of the films of the Vietnam War, such as Apocalypse Now, throw Nguyen into an existential crisis. How can he be both American and Vietnamese, both the killer and the person being killed? Resonant in its emotions and clear in its thinking about cultural power, A Man of Two Faces explores the necessity of both forgetting and of memory. The promises America so readily makes and breaks, and the exceptional life story of one of the most original, important writers writing today. So I think I scored. I think I scored with this at Book Outlet. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's going to go well with the sympathizer when I can get to it. And then I found this book, and it just sounded so intriguing. This is from Pantheon. Oh, okay. This one, I thought this was nonfiction. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to save this for the fiction one. I'm not going to muddy it up. I said this was going to be history and nonfiction. The book I was going to show you apparently is a work of historical fiction. I thought it was kind of like a memoir, because the description kind of made it sound like he's writing about a certain time and place that he was involved in. But okay, moving on. I'm gonna you'll see it. You'll see it. I promise. It's going to be in the Backlist fiction hall. All right. Okay. I don't know. Some of you guys who watch my channel religiously or irreligiously, I don't know, whatever is your druthers, you might have remembered a book I showed a while ago. I show so many books though. It was about like history as history of slavery as it's an innovative study about how trees can tell the story of the experience of the enslaved in America. Every chapter was on a different tree in the South. I came across this book and I'm like, wouldn't it be interesting if I read this book in addition to the, to combine it with that other book I showed you guys, and then did like a book review of both, because this is fascinating. History and trees going together. So this is called The White Birch by Tom Jeffries. Subtitle is A Russian Reflection. So I just had this idea. I'm like, how about if I just combine these two and see how history is written in a nature perspective, and how trees fit into telling a story of history or of a people or a country. So let me know if you're interested in that. It says here, the birch, genus Betula, is one of the Northern Hemisphere's most widespread and easily recognizable trees. A pioneer species, the birch is also Russia's unofficial national emblem. And in The White Birch, art critic Tom Jeffries sets out to grapple with the riddle of Russianness through numerous journeys, encounters, histories, and artworks that all share one thing in common: the humble birch tree. I think birch trees are just beautiful. We have to I think, where are they? Yes, is it birch trees, or am I thinking of aspen trees? I just love the bark on. I think birch trees are beautiful. We visit Catherine the Great's garden follies and Tolstoy's favorite chair, walk through the Chernobyl exclusion zone and among overgrown concrete bunkers in Vladivostok, explore the world of online Russian brides, and spend a drunken night in Moscow with art activists Pussy Riot, all the time questioning the role played by Russia's vastly diverse landscapes in forming and imposing national identity, and vice versa. How has Russia's dramatically shifting self-image informed the way its people think about nature, land, and belonging? Yeah, so I wanted to see this. I'm like, The White Birch. How does he tie in the trees with his history of Russian culture? So again, I had that other book in mind when I saw this, and I was like, let me add this to the cart. Let me see if I can make an interesting kind of book review video about these two. So let me know what you think about that one. All right, next one. Oh, current events. I'm still trying to understand things. So I thought I'd get this one. I got this book because I really want to understand one certain thing. but I'll tell you what it is. It's called While Israel Slept: How Hamas Surprised the Most Powerful Military in the Middle East by Yaakov Katz and Amir Bohbat. This was put out by St. Martin's Press in 2025, so last year. I wanted to know this from the first reportings of this, was just like, how did this advanced military get caught with its pants down? So that guys on paragliders were flying in and just dropping in and I'm just like, how did this happen? That's my angle. It's like from a intelligence and military standpoint, like what went wrong? Like, why were you? I'm just very curious. So While Israel Slept tells the gripping inside story of how Hamas, Israel's weakest enemy, succeeded in launching a surprise attack on one of the world's most powerful militaries. Through a detailed examinations of the events of October 7th, the authors exposed the intelligence and strategic failures that enabled this devastating invasion. They take readers back in time, showing how years of complacency, mistaken intelligence analysis, and a misguided policy of containment enabled Hamas to prepare for an assault that Israel did not believe was possible and that would change the Middle East. So, so that's definitely why I picked this up. I won't read the whole thing because we've got a few more books to get to, and I want to not go too long, but it was super marked down. So I got it, and now I'll take a look and see if I can find anything out. See if it answers that question satisfactorily. I don't know if it will or not. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to show this book. I'm going to do a couple of Civil War stuff. Okay. I want to thank my friend Bill Rutenberg for recommending this book to me. He read it and he liked it a lot. And I had seen this book before, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to read it. But lately I have been, like I said, in the zone of like reading about memory, especially Civil War memory, and how our memories of the Civil War and how we tell our history of the Civil War really shapes a lot of our assumptions. And so upon his recommendation, I went and picked this up, Book Outlet. They had both the paperback and the hardcover of this, but I decided to go paperback. It's just like $1 cheaper. And recently they had a sale of like 15% off all nonfiction. So this was marked down to like $6.50. So I finally got this book, Robert E. Lee and Me, A Southerner's Reckoning with the Myth of the Lost Cause by Ty Seidule. He's the professor emeritus of history at West Point. This was put out by St. Martin's Griffin book. I think this came out, so it kind of made a big splash when it came out, 2020. Okay, but I've been meaning to read it. So Ty Seidule grew up revering Robert E. Lee. From his Southern childhood to his service in the U.S. Army, every part of his life reinforced the lost cause myth, that Lee was the greatest man who ever lived, and that the Confederates were underdogs who lost the Civil War with honor. Now, as a retired brigadier general and professor emeritus of history at West Point, his view has radically changed. From a soldier, a scholar, and a Southerner, Ty Seidule believes that American history demands a reckoning, and I agree with that. In a unique blend of history and reflection, Seidule deconstructs the truth about the Confederacy, that its undisputed primary goal was the subjugation and enslavement of Black Americans, and directly challenges the idea of honoring those who labored to preserve that system and committed treason in their failed attempt to achieve it. That's the bottom line. That's what happened. Through the arc of Seidule's own life, as well as the culture that formed him, he seeks a path to understanding why the facts of the Civil War have remained buried beneath layers of myth and even outright lies, and how they embody a cultural gulf that separates millions of Americans to this day. Thanks, Bill, for the recommendation. I'm glad I got this copy. I'll be reading it this summer. My goal is I really want to tackle this one soon. Okay, next Civil War book I picked up. It's not probably the best edition of this. I could probably find a more robust or handsome looking edition. But these are the, I don't want to say the memoirs, but anyway, this is Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston's narrative of military operations during the Civil War. Put out by Endeavor Press. It's just, I think it is public domain. So it's just, the cover's kind of, but hey, it's a reading copy and that's fine with me because I'm doing this buddy read of The Battle Cry of Freedom by James McPherson and I'm loving it. And yes, and I'm also reading a book from Military May, which reminds me I need to do an update uh, and post a video on Military May of where I'm at. But one of my books I'm reading is about Joseph E. Johnston as a preeminent strategist. So this is going to kind of be a nice companion to that. I can kind of maybe refer to it a bit. It says here on the back, respected by his opponents, yet at odds with his own authorities, Joseph E. Johnston remains as divisive a soldier now as he was at the time of the Civil War. He was one of the Confederacy's highest ranking and most experienced officers, but he was regularly criticized both for lacking aggression and for his failures across his campaigns. Despite effectively halting McClellan's advance at Seven Pines, having been wounded, President Davis replaced Johnston with his old classmate, General Lee. Already bitter, his relationship with Davis only continued to sour, and yes, it did. But in spite of Davis's desire to be rid of him, Johnston had the support of Louis Wigfall. In 1865, nearly 3 weeks after Lee surrendered Appomattox, Johnston surrendered his own forces to General William Sherman. It was the largest such act of the war and saved numerous lives. Originally published in 1874 and amongst the first of the Civil War memoirs, Johnston goes beyond simple recollection in an attempt to set the record straight. So you bring it on. I love it. Bring me the drama. Bring me the catfights. Give me the Civil War general catfights. Love it. The weirdest things get me fired up. But yeah. So I picked this up. It's super cheap. Book outlet. So yay. All right. What else we got here, guys? Typically, I like to read big histories in a hardcover, but you know what? And thankfully, the type is bigger than I thought it would be. So anymore with these smaller trade paperbacks, I don't want them because the type is so tiny, and even with my glasses, I'm like, it's too much. So I picked up this one, The Robber Barons, the classic account of the influential capitalists who transformed America's future by Matthew Josephson. There you go. Look at that. So yeah, a little trade paperback there. This book came out, originally published. Oh my God. Oh, well, this is old. Well, this is going to be a different reading experience. This book first came out in 1934, and the copyright was renewed by the author in 1962. Wow. And the foreword says, The Robber Barons was written during that great slump, which, beginning in 1929, reached its lowest depths in 1929 to 1933. Who wrote the foreword? Matthew Josephson in 1962. Okay, so there's a new foreword, but it looks like it's solid history. And look, the print size is decent, guys. This is what I'm talking about. Like this is a decent size, whereas some of these others are just tiny. Like, here's an example. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? But yet I ordered it, so I'm like, okay, tiny. Try this. That one's not so bad. All right, but you get my drift. Robber Barons with nice big bold text. Okay, I can read this one. This is the incredible story of the Gilded Age and the early American capitalists who boldly seized and controlled economic power after the Civil War. It says the definitive book on the rise and power of the early American capitalists. The Robber Barons examines the careers of such masters of finance and industry as J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, Jay Gould, E.H. Harriman, and Henry Clay Frick. You got to be freaking kidding me. A fascinating narrative. Mixing social, economic, and political history, Matthew Josephson shows that under the command of these industry giants, the country progressed from a mainly agrarian mercantile society to an economy propelled predominantly by mass production. Compelling in its own right, this important book is a vital part of American and global economic history. So I thought I should have it. Okay. For the price, I was like, I can't deny it. So moving on. Gosh, guys. It's going to be another hour video. I apologize. I got so many books. Okay, so this book, we're going to go to American Revolutionary history, and a book I've never read, but it was, I think it was the winner of the Bancroft Prize, and it has a foreword by Alan Taylor. And this is the revised and expanded edition, and this is a book I've never read or heard about. This is The Minutemen and Their World, revised and expanded edition with a new preface and afterword by the author, and this is by Robert A. Gross. We've got a blurb on here from Gordon S. Wood, the prestigious author and historian of early American history, the Revolution, uh, and of course, a foreword by Alan Taylor. I mean, you can't go wrong. This is a Picador edition, Picador Books. Just a nice, sturdy little soft cover. So I thought I'd pick this one up. What does this go into? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm wasting time. I just don't know what to read because I've got I got 4 more books. Let's hit it. April 19th, 1775. The American Revolution began at the Old North Bridge in Concord, Massachusetts. The shot heard around the world catapulted the sleepy New England town into the midst of revolutionary fervor, and Concord went on to become the intellectual capital of the new republic. The town, future home to Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Nathaniel Hawthorne, soon came to symbolize devotion to liberty, intellectual freedom, and the stubborn integrity of rural life. In The Minutemen and Their World, Robert A. Gross has written a remarkably subtle and detailed reconstruction of the lives and community of this special place, and a compelling interpretation of the American Revolution as a social movement, one that engaged not only the fabled Minutemen, but also women and Black residents of Concord. This revised and expanded edition, with a new preface and afterword by the author, updates a classic of American history writing for a new generation of readers. So I am very, very happy to have found this one on Book Outlet of all places. A lot of the things on Book Outlet are more mainstream and more recent. So sometimes you find these older books, and that's why it's the thrill of book hunting online is it's real, and I really do love finding these oddball, sorry, not oddball, but they're just finding it for steal. This is from 1976. This was when it was first out. So I was 4 years old. So very happy to have found that at Book Outlet. And then I've got a book here, and another great Picador edition. I do love the Picador soft trade paperback editions. This is a memoir by Martin Amis. This is the 25th anniversary edition of Experience, with a new introduction by Zadie Smith. Yeah, beautiful Picador edition. Almost 400 pages. Pictures in the middle. Let's see here. In Experience, the celebrated novelist Martin Amis steps away from fiction to tell the stories of his own life, his bohemian, peripatetic childhood, his emergence as a trailblazing young writer, and the wrenching rearrangements of middle age. Amis lays bare the private pains of his main events, some ordinary, some shocking, all ruthlessly covered in the British press, such as divorce, broken friendships, the loss of his teeth, the news of a cousin brutally murdered, the discovery of a long-lost daughter, and the death of his father, the iconic novelist Kingsley Amis. Here is innocence, a writer's essence, overwhelmed by experience. But in writing his life with characteristic verve and a new vulnerability, Amis manages to find the universal in his own experience. Part elegy, part love letter, part self-portrait, and crackling throughout with the humor and poetry of Amis's unique style. Experience is a literary masterpiece of extraordinary emotional power. Now, I have his most recent one. Was it The Inside Story? So I thought maybe I should check out Experience first. I do love, like I said, I love reading memoirs by writers just to see how they came to be writers, their process, how they write, how they find their idea. You know, I'm just fascinated. I've always been. So when I saw this, it was like a low stock, and I was like, I'm going to get it because it was super cheap. So Martin Amis, Experience, glad to have this. I'll put that alongside his Inside Story. And then we get a nice another book I did not expect to see on Book Outlet, you guys. Walter Benjamin. a book of essays and reflections called Illuminations, with a edited by Hannah Arendt. And I love reading Hannah Arendt. I love reading her work. I love reading about her. And so I'm learning more about Walter Benjamin. And I think now I was thinking of Stefan Zweig, but yeah, I'm learning more about Walter Benjamin, and I thought this book of essays would be helpful. And I was just so shocked to find it in Book Outlet. So Walter Benjamin was an icon of criticism, renowned for his insights on art, literature, and philosophy. This collection includes his views on Kafka, with whom he felt a close personal affinity, his studies on Baudelaire and Proust, and his essays on Leskov and on Brecht's epic theater. Illuminations also includes his penetrating study, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, an enlightening discussion of translation as a literary mode, and his theses on the philosophy of history, which I really am looking forward to reading. Hannah Arendt selected the essays for this volume and introduces them with a classic essay of her own about Benjamin's life in a dark historical era. So yes, sign me up for this. It's a slim volume. It's put out by Mariner Books. About 230 pages or so. Shan't take too long to read. This book first came out, well, let's see, the first Mariner Books edition was 2019, but I think obviously this came out in like the late 60s, 1968. But yeah, there's an essay in here by Hannah Arendt, and I'm looking forward to that. Let's see here, Illuminate. There's a long introduction, and then we get into his essays. So I don't even think this is still available on Book Outlet. If I were to look right now, shall I look and help you guys out? No, we're already at 51 minutes. But hang on, I'll look. Yep, I just looked up. If any of you guys are just dying to have this, it's low stock. It says there's 10 copies available, and the price right now is $7.49. So, and usually they have sales on at some point. It brings it even lower. But yeah, 10 copies are still on Book Outlet. I was really happy to see that. All right, this book, I had read the reviews of this book when it came out, and it sounds like a very powerful story. And this was also one of the 10 best books of 2023, according to the New York Times Book Review, Pulitzer Prize finalist, a book about friendship. And yeah, I read the reviews of this book, and I'm like, I got to read it. So I finally picked up The Best Minds, Story of Friendship, Madness, and the Tragedy of Good Intentions by Jonathan Rosen. Many of you might be familiar with Jonathan Rosen. He's a journalist, political journalist. This came out in 2023. So let me just read this to you here. Oh, it says on the back, named a top 10 best book of the year by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, and People. And it's one of Barack Obama's favorite books of the year. So there you have it. Acclaimed author Jonathan Rosen's riveting investigation of the forces that led his closest childhood friend from the heights of brilliant promise to the forensic psychiatric hospital where he has lived since killing the woman he loved. A story about friendship, love, and the price of self-delusion, The Best Minds explores the ways in which we understand and fail to understand mental illness. I'll read you a little bit more. We're going to hit I have one more book to show you. But anyway, when the Rosens moved to New Rochelle in 1973, Jonathan Rosen and Michael Lador became inseparable. Both children of college professors, the boys were best friends and keen competitors, and when they both got into Yale University, seemed set to join the American meritocratic elite. Michael blazed through college in 3 years, graduating summa cum laude and landing a top-flight consulting job. But all wasn't as it seemed. One day, Jonathan received the call. Michael had suffered a serious psychotic break and was in the locked ward of a psychiatric hospital. Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, Michael was still battling delusions when he traded his halfway house for Yale Law School. Featured in the New York Times as a role model genius, he sold a memoir with film rights to Ron Howard. But then Michael, in the grip of an unshakable paranoid fantasy, stabbed his girlfriend Carrie to death and became a front-page story of an entirely different sort. Tender, funny, and harrowing by turns, The Best Minds is Jonathan Rosen's magnificent and heartbreaking account of good intentions and tragic outcomes, whose significance will echo widely. So, of course, I want to hear from any of you out there who have read any of these books and what you thought. This one particularly, like I said, you can tell I've picked up a couple books that are like bestsellers or, were nominated for awards. I'm just catching up on some stuff now, backlist stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to reading this. This is going to be something else. It's over 500 pages, but got a nice edition. I'm sure they still have some on Book Outlet. I can't stop myself. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, they have the that's interesting. I got the one of the last trade paperbacks. They have it. They have the hardcover, but it's not. It's about $11. So I was lucky enough to get one of the final paperback editions. Okay, so then I saw this on Book Outlet. I'm like, how did I find this on Book Outlet? Because this is something I would have looked up to buy used third party or whatever, but a beautiful oversized trade paperback version of this. This is by Dr. Lee Jisoo, translated by Tai Hung Chow, and forward by Andrew J. Nathan. This is The Private Life of Chairman Mao. Look at this beautiful. Oh my God. And it's almost, except for the remainder dot, I mean, this is a nice lay flat. Oh. And I think there was one copy left, and I immediately was just like, I've got to finish this order and place this because I want this book. From 1954 until Mao Zedong's death 22 years later, Dr. Lee Jisoo was the Chinese ruler's personal physician, which put him in daily and increasingly intimate contact with Mao and his inner circle. In The Private Life of Chairman Mao, Dr. Lee vividly reconstructs his extraordinary experience at the center of Mao's decadent imperial court. Dr. Lee clarifies numerous long-standing puzzles, such as the true nature of Mao's feelings toward the United States and the Soviet Union. He describes Mao's deliberate rudeness toward Khrushchev and reveals the actual catalyst of Nixon's historic visit. Here also are surprising details of Mao's personal depravity. We see him dependent on barbiturates and refusing to wash, dress, or brush his teeth. And, of course, the sexual politics of his court. To millions of Chinese, Mao was more God than man, but for Dr. Lee, he was all too human. Dr. Lee's intimate account of this lecherous, paranoid tyrant, callously indifferent to the suffering of his people, will forever alter our view of Chairman Mao and of China under his rule. So this is big beefy read here. It is almost 700 pages. It does have, a lot of photos in the center. All right, but when did this book originally come out? I wonder if anything here has been disputed. Okay, this came out in 1994. So, you know me and my minor degree in dictators and despots, and Mao being like one of he's killed more people than Stalin, I think, easily. So anyway, yeah, what a delightful person to have walked the earth. But anyway, so I was able to get this last copy through Book Outlet, and there is my most recent Book Outlet History and Nonfiction Backlist book haul, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy these videos. And I know that a lot of you love my long form videos because you can play it in the background while you're washing the dishes, doing whatever. And you're writing down titles. And I think that's fantastic. I love when you guys are like, yeah, you just added so many to my TBR. I love it. That's what I'm here to do. All right, guys, thanks again. Drop me a like or subscribe. Also, let me know. I think I asked you a question. If you could let me know in the comments about something, and I forget what it was. But anyway, I love hearing from you guys. I love seeing your comments. So yeah, let me know if you've read these and any of these and what you thought. And if you have more suggestions, I'm always open for those as well. Okay, so until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Be well out there. Be safe. be kind, and we'll talk soon. Ciao.